As the sun rises, the air fills with the sounds of heavy breathing and panting. Students sprawled on the ground, sweating and struggling to catch their breath. They lament the strain on their legs and express their exhaustion from the morning's intense running. Transitioning to the scene, the instructor calls on the students to stop complaining and rise, emphasizing the importance of maintaining their swordsmanship skills. Meanwhile, Wrath appears beside Leon once more, questioning why he isn't joining the group practicing swordsmanship. Leon dismisses the idea, stating that focusing on basics is more crucial than honing sword skills at the moment. He emphasizes the significance of fundamental training for growth and discipline, reminding himself not to rush. Following his own advice, Leon commits to a plank exercise, sweat dripping from his brow. Unbeknownst to him, Lunan Sleon from the Vassal family observes him from the shadows, noting his rapid improvement despite his illness, and quietly approaches him. As Lunan approaches, Leon curiously questions her presence and they share a tense silence, each seemingly unable to break the ice. Lunan, intrigued by Leon's rapid growth, suddenly feels a chill and freezes momentarily. She then sits beside him and mimics his weightlifting exercises. Perplexed by her behavior, Leon watches as Lunan continues to copy him, lifting various weights. Lunan attributes her newfound strength to a pleasant scent she detected from Leon, claiming it made her feel lighter and stronger. Despite Leon's inquiry, Lunan denies having anything to share, prompting him to walk away. However, Lunan follows, determined to uncover the source of her unusual reaction to Leon's scent. Barun enters the room with the other students as they observe Lunan following around Leon. There is no expression whatsoever on his face while the other students scoff and question why such a girl is following around a guy like him. He then grabs hold of a wooden stick as he claims that the bastard is just wasting his time and that kind of repetitive training has no point, calling upon his friends. He walks away as he asks them to ignore the bastard from the indirect lineage, and the results of the test will speak for themselves. While Leon is training, an unknown student walks up to him and calls his name. He introduces himself as Dorian and asks if he can train next to him and Lunan. The outsider contestant Dorian expresses that he wants to learn the correct procedure, but Leon tells him that he really does not care. Shuffling around his bag, Dorian thanks Leon for letting him train next to him. As a token of appreciation, he hands him a cookie to try, but refusing to have the cookie, he proceeds to offer it to Lunan, who sits beside him. However, he is taken aback in nervousness when he sees her eyes sparkle in awe at the mysterious food item that lays before her. Handing over the cookie to Lunan, he confusingly expresses her to be another unique one. In the party, leaves flutter away into the sky, signifying the time that passes by in the blink of an eye. And our hero trains diligently, running on tracks, lifting weights and making sure he does everything to be in the best shape possible. Others are also shown to be working hard and doing their best to prepare for the test. Leon now once again runs on the tracks as he pants and huffs for air. He narrates that it's been 6 months since they began training, adding that he ran every day until he was ready to die. Moving on, he tells us that after all that, finally, the morning of the test day has come, and families of the participants are seen walking into the arena as they anticipate their children's success. An announcer greets everyone gathered in the arena as his voice echoes through the large area, and he elaborates that the Guardians are all here to watch the event unfold. He also alerts them to follow his instructions carefully. As Leon stands idly, Wrath appears before him to remind him of the bet that he had made all those months ago. Diverted towards Dorian, he then notices him laying down on the ground and he asks what he is doing. Dorian has a look of despair on his face as he explains that he is nervous because of the test that is today, and he had not slept all night. Seeing him fall into despair and agitation, our hero steps forward to address the situation and comfort him when Lunan approaches him and offers him a cookie to try, which he refuses. Just then, he exchanges looks with Barun, who passes by him, and he annoyingly acknowledges the odd people that surround him among the crowd. Sylvia excitedly calls for Helen to look at her young master as she exclaims in awe at the strong and confident warrior, and acknowledging that he has even made friends makes her feel proud of him too. Listening to Helen's strong words, Sylvia smiles in awe of her child when suddenly this heartfelt moment is disturbed by the sudden call for the patriarch's entrance. Slowly stepping into the arena, the bright red attire and shiny blonde hair make a statement which intimidates the observing audience as they question his sudden appearance. Glenn Zygarde prepares to sit on his throne as the attendees bow down to him, and the audience expresses that he has never come to watch the test unfold before the brilliant sword of the Zygarde family. Lemmer also expresses concern as he asks about the patriarch's sudden appearance. Wasting no time, the elf then announces that, since the patriarch is already here, they will now quickly begin with the test, and he will now announce the details of this test. A green leaf falls to the ground, following the green aura that bursts out and falls upon the students that stand before Lemur. The students are startled and taken aback as their eyes open wide at the sudden wave of strong aura that bursts right at them. Leon expresses this concern too, and Lemmer glares at the students with a menacing look while his green aura rushes forward. He elaborates that the students must make it through his aura. That is the test that they have to pass. Continuing with the test, Lemmer elaborates that aura is inherent to a martial artist, and this test will judge the students' worth as martial artists. But before the students can begin the test, a commotion sparks up among the crowd of family, and a man stands up to question why this is a test when the students have just started learning aura. The small commotion turns into a situation when the man yells out that this is unfair because some of the students are yet to even learn aura. He exclaims that the head instructor had also been spotted sleeping during training too. Lemmer sighs at the unfortunate situation and explains it to the concerned families. The test is not just a manifestation of aura, but the real aura burst is the level of the soul that a martial artist achieves. He adds that this proves that a martial artist can manifest energy without aura, but the man that sparked the conversation does not seem to buy his explanation and raises concern once again. Suddenly, the patriarch's voice remarks that the brilliant sword is not wrong. Adhering to all the concerns, Lemmer now asks if all questions have been answered before exclaiming for the test to begin. He then calls forth Lunan Slayon, who slowly steps forward among the students to the head instructor, and now that she stands before him, he explains that the aura burst that he will test her with is of a level that she can endure if she has trained her hardest, and she will pass if she gets through his barrier to touch him. Once all the details have been made clear, the test now begins, and Lemmer smiles before a straw-green aura rushes forth at Lunan, who blocks the wave of energy with her arms. The brilliant sword of the Zygarde family mentions that it will count as a fail if she uses her own aura, and calls her to awaken the mental power she has trained. But the aura is strong and the wave of energy does not seem to stop. Lunan struggles, and slowly but surely she manages to take a step forward with her hand reaching out at the head instructor that stands before her. And before we know it, Lunan's hand grabs hold of Lemur's hand, marking the end of the test. He grabs Lunan close to him as she slumps over him with exhaustion and remarks her. Passing the test is easy. Moving on with the next participant, Lemmer calls forth Dorian, and hearing his name from the instructor's mouth, he is perplexed and shaken up with fear. Nevertheless, he nervously steps forward, passing by the exhausted Lunan, who slumps over, still trying to catch her breath. Leaning over the slouched trainee, Lemmer asks him to do just exactly as Lunan has done. Nothing stops the brilliant sword from testing the trainees to their absolute limit, and without a warning, his aura bursts out and flares violently while he remarks that if Dorian cannot endure, he will fail. Trying his best, he attempts to endure and plow through the strong burst of energy, but he struggles heavily and falls to the ground. This test is being observed by our hero, who notices that the head instructor's aura burst intensity differs from child to child. He elaborates that the instructor is controlling his intensity based on the child's level and training progress, which makes him now firmly believe that the brilliant sword of the Zygarde family really has been observing each and every student. As Leon assesses Lemur's teaching skills, his attention now averts to him, congratulating the fearful Dorian, who trembles but has finally grabbed hold of him. While he is on the ground, time flows like a river downstream, and one by one the students are called upon by the head instructor for their test. Now comes Barun Zigard's turn, who exclaims at his call and enthusiastically steps forth to face the test. Lemur then walks up to the student and mentions that he will begin right away. A huge wave of green energy follows this elaboration as Lemur hardens his facial expressions and glares down at the capable student that stands before him. Seeing the student fall to his knees, Lemur now begins to state that his talent is special, more so than anyone, and there are only a few that are comparable to him. Struggling to get through the energy wave, he grits his teeth in frustration. He cannot afford to fail this test here. This boost of adrenaline, backed up by fear and anxiety, pushes the student to rush forward in desperation, and finally he grabs hold of Lemur's leg, being called upon to pass the test. Moving forward with the test, he now lastly calls upon our hero, Leon Zygard, to step forward, and he obediently comes forth from among the students. Now standing before the head instructor, Leon dramatically makes his way to the final test to become a martial artist, and as the suspense builds up, Lemur asks if the young trainee is ready, which is responded by a confident nod. Then, following the exchange of words, Lemur remarks that he will begin. A roaring wave of energy now rushes forward through the battle arena at Leon, who stands readily in the face of the strongest aura burst that Lemur has let out the whole day. The strangely violent and roaring burst of aura surprises not only Sylvia, who jumps up in concern for her beloved son, but the patriarch too, whose eyes widen as he questions the odd display of power that the student is now facing. Nervous to face the strongest aura burst, Leon asks the head instructor if this really is his test, and Lemur responds by elaborating that the talent he had foreseen in the capable student was far above what he saw in Buran and Lunan, and so he exclaims for the student to try and endure the aura bursts. Blocking the roaring wave of energy, our hero falls into contemplation. He remarks that his potential does not lie in his body, but inside his soul that once suffered a terrible end as an assassin, and while he acknowledges this fact, the wave of energy starts to cut through our hero's feet. As he takes a step forward, the atmosphere starts to change and the head instructor's eyes widen at the student enduring the most powerful aura bursts. The patriarch's glare locks onto his grandson too, as the brilliant sword startles at the sight of Leon's unbelievable talent, who continues to step closer and closer to his body. And before you know it, Leon Zygard has pressed his palm against the head instructor's chest, who exclaims in denial that this really has happened. This amazing talent has the crowd of families in shock too, as their gasps sound and echo throughout the arena. Lemur and the patriarch widen their eyes in shock and they are taken by surprise, but the brave young warrior smiles without a hint of exhaustion as he questions if the test is now over. Lemur nervously walks up to the talented student and the voices of the messenger echo through the arena as he questions how the ill child who hasn't even learned aura managed to make it through such a difficult test. Lemur blatantly stands before the student and now asks what he really is. Our hero, Leon Zygard, introduces himself once again, mentioning that the head has been observing him for the last 6 months. Lemur's contemplation is suddenly broken down when he realizes his position and nervously announces to apologize for being a little distracted, marking the end of the test. Just as he proceeds to remark, the top trainee for this test burns. Anxiety spikes up as he nervously anticipates the announcement. The crowd was holding its breath in suspense of the results, but their anticipation is met with disappointment and shock when Lemur announces the top trainee of the 5th training hall to be none other than our young hero, Leon Zygard. The announcement sparks joy and tears fall down Sylvia's eyes as she exclaims and jumps up in her seat. Helen shares the same sentiment as she adds in the excitement, pointing out that the young master has done it again. A commotion rises from among the crowd. Since family representatives do not seem to be happy with the decision, they question Leon's position as the top trainee, Baran is not having it either, and he points his finger at Leon to elaborate that they are the martial artists of the Zykart family, and that they should duel to choose the top trainee rather than test for one. Lemmer assesses Buran's consistent emphasis on the unfair selection, and he comments that the boy is desperate to stand at the top. That startles the young master, who takes a step back to deny the claim. However, stating that the test is already over, he asks the patriarch for help, and after taking a brief moment to think, Glenn Zykart responds by calling out for his grandson. He remarks that the people do not seem to accept him as the top trainee despite the results, and so he asks if the current top trainee is willing to have a duel with the young master for the top spot. The response from Leon is met with a collectively loud and sound gasp of shock as he openly denies the offer. He elaborates that the test is already over with the results that speak for themselves, and he is not interested in fighting in a duel when there is no reward at the end. Finding no other way to prove the new talent's capabilities, the patriarch then suggests that he fights in a duel over the position of the top trainee, and if he wins, he will be rewarded with a bronze plaque. Leon is immediately alerted upon hearing that condition, and reminds himself that the bronze, silver, and gold plaque rewards are given to those who have accomplished something special in the family. He explains that these plaques can be used to claim certain valuable rewards in the future, so naturally he accepts the offer. While remarking that maybe Buran really wants the top spot, the patriarch approves this decision and states that they will begin right away. Leon now stands before his opponent, who has a look of desperation on his face as the patriarch adds that this duel will be the real decider of who is deserving of the top trainee title. He explains the details. There will be only one round and the opponents are only allowed to use their bodies. The head instructor now affirms the duel and swings his hand, marking the beginning of the fight. Baran immediately rushes forward at his opponent, his arm reaching back to muster up a powerful punch. The fist flies next to Leon's face as his eyes widen at the sudden attack. This is followed up by an immediate kick to the face that is blocked by Leon as he hardens his facial expressions in light of the heated battle that unfolds in the arena. Buran now charges up his fist as blue energy spirals around his body. He calls it the righteous tiger fist that his father has taught him personally. Since this move is a martial arts fist technique, the boy exclaims that he's not cheating in any capacity. The fight unfolds as the two students fight to prove themselves, and the other students cheer upon Buran's talented capabilities. Amidst the fight, Buran gives it his all. He needs this victory more than anything, knowing that his father is watching over him. The scared Buran, enraged, pushes himself even further in order to prove his worth. A barrage of punches face our hero as Buran tells himself that he cannot at any cost let someone like Leon keep him from falling behind and disappointing his father. Leon now expresses that he can clearly see his opponent, his fists, his flow of attack, and where they are aimed. Buran notices his opponent lagging behind in thought and makes his move as he yells and rushes forward quickly, questioning if the weakling has finally decided to give up. Leaping in mid-air, he prepares to strike Leon with a powerful punch. But our hero does not give up this easily. He also cocks back his fist to charge up a counterattack and glares fiercely at his opponent. Their fists meet, and a spark of energy is let out. Our hero wins this clash as his fist slips away, aiming directly for Buran's chest. Buran is taken aback when his attack is pushed back by Leon's strong punch. Golden lightning sparks around Leon's body as he moves forward with a vicious gaze and charges up another powerful punch before striking Buran in the gut. Finally, the boy is blasted away upon impact as he groans in pain, and the crowd lets out yet another resounding gasp. Unable to believe that young Master Buran was defeated once again, Buran's father jumps up from his seat and grits his teeth in agitation as a man yells out that this is impossible. The patriarch, too, is taken by surprise when his supposedly incompetent son defeats the talented young master. The voice of the man from earlier exclaims that the move performed by Leon is, in fact, the righteous tiger's fist. Continuing the man's sentence, Buran questions our hero. His voice shakes and he trembles while attempting to get up from the ground. This boy never fails to surprise us, always defying his body's limits to accomplish the impossible. Shocking jumps and sound gasps unfold from among the crowd of families that spectate the duel that has taken place, and they question Leon's righteous tiger's fist, asking how he is able to perform such a move without having learned any aura. Nervousness fills the arena as the surprised families begin to speculate that maybe the student had learned the skill in secret, which they believe is the only logical explanation. They still cannot seem to process our young hero's victory as he grips his fist to massage away the slight pain. Lemmer stands before the victorious Leon, who is standing in front of the defeated Baran. Meanwhile, Lemmer has to cover his gaping mouth with his hand to hide his astonishment at the shocking results. Assessing Leon's incredible show of intelligence, he elaborates that Leon countered Baran's attack by having him spin in the other direction. He mentions that just seeing the flow of one's opponent makes them worthy of being called a genius in the world of martial arts. Concluding his assessment, he explains that Leon used the flow to make his opponent's technique his own. Lemmer believes that this kind of talent easily sets someone on the path to being the strongest on the continent, and now that he has seen it for himself in Leon, he expresses that this is the kind of talent that the patriarch had wanted, naming it to be perpetual talent. The duel has come to an end, and Lemmer announces to the audience that the results speak for themselves, concluding the test by deeming our hero victorious. Just as the test is called to be concluded, a woman rushes past the crowd of families and makes her way to the battlefield, her arms reaching forward for a hug. The charging woman is noticed by Leon, who recognizes her as his mom, Sylvia. Her eyes fill up with awe and joy as she firmly hugs her son in a beautiful moment. Lunan's passing of the test is also celebrated by her parents, who hug their child and cry tears of joy too, with her father holding her close and comforting her. Buran is also taken away by his father's messenger, who walks with him with a gloomy look on his face. Buran's eye catches his father from among the crowd, glaring down at him with a disappointed look on his face before turning away and mixing in between the crowd. The poor boy feels the weight of his father's disappointment as he slouches over and falls into deep despair. This concludes the day, and night falls upon the continent. Soon after, an annex reveals Buran standing in front of his father's desk, who has his face turned away from his son. Silence fills the room as Buran continues to fall into a state of despair, but he is taken aback when Karen Zycard, the boy's father, suddenly calls his name with a heavy voice. It shakes the young warrior up, and he stutters as he responds to his call. Karen questions if the incompetent warrior remembers what he had been asked, and Buran states that his father had asked him to become the top trainee and not to lose to anyone. His voice shakes as he struggles to mutter the simplest of words in front of his intimidating father. The pressing father expresses that he had not asked much of his incompetent son, elaborating that he simply needed him to defeat the Slan family's Lunan and get the position of the top trainee. He then slowly turns his chair to face his son and immediately yells out in furious rage, exclaiming that he lost to the son of an insect who has already lost all of her status. He questions if Buran had intended to shame his father from the beginning. He continues to confront his son, asking if he wants to end up like his brother as well. This alerts Buran, who is shaken up at the sudden mention of the same treatment as his brother. Concluding the confrontation, Karen Zycard expresses that his son has already lost his first chance, but there is still room for him to redeem himself, so he asks him to become the top trainee once again by the time of their graduation. Done with what he had to say, the father commands his disappointing son to leave his sight immediately, and of course, Buran obeys in shame and despair. Walking out of the annex under the pale moonlight, he wipes away the sadness and holds his head in his hand, expressing that he must not miss this last chance if he wants to live like someone of the direct lineage from the Zygarde family. Concluding the declaration of confidence, he then smacks his fist against the wall in frustration, making it crack upon impact. I guess my dude is angry, but if you ask me, his father is just a bitch. Buran continues to curse our innocent hero Leon Zycard, exclaiming that it's all because of that damn bastard. He blames him for putting him in such a dire situation with his father. Sadly walking with shame and regret, He wonders why he has been put in such a position when he had worked hard enough not to lose or fall behind anyone else.
Love the manhwa? Subscribe for more. Your support makes it all possible. Hit subscribe now!